Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Well, how the Sam Hill are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a great summer. Things are going well.
Well, the rain has stopped and the heat has come.
So yes, Texas heat is wonderful.
Yeah, it makes me chuckle. You know, they keep talking about, help conserve energy, lower your, raise your thermostat, being, 78, 80 degrees in your house is just fine.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me. I drive a pickup and I keep my house cool, and I don't know. It just, apparently I'm not an environmentalist.
Well,
I'm a meist.
Well, fair enough. I'm right there with you. I just find it comical that raise the temperature in your house to save the electrical grid, but plug in your car so it can charge, which consumes a ton of energy.
Yeah, but that's overnight. I mean, there's all kinds of contradictory information out there, right? So it is what it is. Just grain of salt, move on.
Fair enough. So you've been paying attention to what's been happening in the news lately.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's just so much. Where are we headed with this?
Okay, I guess that is kind of a loaded question.
I mean, it's an election year too, so.
Well, okay. Well, this has nothing to do with politics.
That's good.
It has nothing to do with elections or any of that other silly crap. No, this one has to do with some stuff I've been seeing on the morning news. And it has to do with some things that, well, first of all, a lot of changes to school districts happen in the summer.
Yeah.
And so you always get word of things that, schools are going to do different for next year. And one that I have been hearing a lot over the last, I want to say at least last 4 weeks, is the number of school districts, not just here in Texas, but around the country, that are banning cell phone use in the school setting. Okay. This includes what I think today's show said the number 2 largest school district in the country, Los Angeles School District, their school board has issued a decree that no cell phones in schools for next year.
Wow.
There's several school districts here in Texas, one down in the Houston area, one in the middle of the state near Fort Hood, have both made that clear. Several school districts here in the DFW area have been experimenting and piloting programs at certain schools. There's no cell phones. I know that even here in our small little community, the school board president was commenting that cell phone use in schools has become a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And so now, as a classroom teacher, I can tell you, I hate cell phone use. I hate that I hate that I have to constantly fight against kids using cell phones in the class. And they go, "Oh, I'm just looking at the time." Yeah. I'm going, my butt. Yeah. There is, in the bottom right-hand corner of your laptop that each one of you children have, is a clock. Yeah. So don't tell me. Well, I'm done with my assignment. Can't I? I thought I could. And I'm going, dude, do you see the 4 signs around the room that says no cell phones?
Yeah.
Do you not remember just last class when I told you put your phone away? So,
well, it's interesting, from a teenager's perspective, all adults are kind of stupid, right?
Okay.
So
okay.
It's a matter of them thinking that we just don't know, or they can tell us, and we have zero experience with these things. We don't really know if they're telling the truth or not, right? About what they're using. My favorite thing is the earbuds, right? The earbuds they wear, and then you tell them to take them out, and they're like, "Well, I'm not listening to anything." I'm like, but it's connected to your phone. Like, I know you're listening to text as they come in. You're getting notifications. I have these things too, right? I just don't wear them in school.
Well,
so, I mean, it's an age-old problem where kids want to, kind of pull one over on the adult in the room.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, and I've argued and I've shared this with some of the kids. I go, well, if you're not listening to music, then it's not a big deal to have it pulled out of your ears, right?
Well, there's that too.
So, and then of course, anyway, I have also, and I've talked to some of the kids about, their use of cell phones, that I see it as an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
They are addicted to their cell phone. They cannot put it down.
Yes.
And I have had kids over the years, over the last couple of years anyway, that we've been talking about this more and more. And like I said, I get at least one or two per class per semester. And they go, well, yeah, I used to be absolutely addicted. And it was having a negative impact on my mental health. That I was constantly addicted to checking my phone in school, at home, morning, noon, and night.
Yeah.
And they would say that once they put it down, once they were able to break themselves of that habit, they were actually a lot happier and were able to have better relationships with their friends, family, and so on.
Sure.
And so I kind of agree with what, these school districts are saying. In fact, they were talking, I guess there is a push to get the Surgeon General of the United States to put warning labels. I don't know how they do this, but they want a warning label similar to what they have on cigarettes put on social media.
Okay.
And again, because of the huge negative health impact this is having on, well, I don't want to say just kids. I'd say anybody 21 and under.
Yeah.
I mean, adults, once you're over 21, well, okay. I don't know. I think even some adults have a hard time putting phones away.
I mean, I have a hard time putting my phone away, not for work.
Yeah.
So much, right? Like, I mean, when I'm here, I do my work, but when I'm at work, whether it's doing this podcast or doing whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
But when I am home, absolutely, right? I could be watching TV and all of a sudden I find myself looking at my phone, scrolling.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get distracted into it. And it's like if your brain gets a little bit disengaged from something, it automatically goes to, oh, I've got this entertainment device, which by and large isn't that entertaining, but it occupies my time.
Yeah, I will admit that I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
When Sherry and I are watching TV, a lot of times I will pull it out and I'll be playing one of my stupid little games. And so, yeah, most of the time, because I can decently watch a TV show, get the main idea of the episode, and, well, play on my phone at the same time.
Right.
And now I will say that when we go to the movie theaters, that phone is away, and I have told people near me that are playing on their phone, I'll look at them and say, can you at least put the damn thing away till the show is over?
Well, you got guts, man. So, I mean, I put mine away for the movie, right?
Yes.
Mine's not necessarily away for the the pre-movie show that goes.
Yeah, no.
Partly because I'm looking up things about the previews and things like that. But definitely once the movie starts, mine is silent and not lit up.
And that's all I'm asking.
And I'm as annoyed as you are with the other people. I just apparently don't have the guts to say something.
Well, I've only had to do it a few times.
I flash back to that movie theater shooting so many years ago.
Well.
I think maybe it's not a good idea, especially in Texas.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, to kind of go with what I'm seeing in the news, what I'm seeing in the classroom, I found this news article, and it's from Science Tech Daily, and it's titled "Children's Brains Are Shaped by Their Time on Technological Devices." So it's not just cell phones. It can be your laptop. It can be your iPad. It can be your PlayStation or Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
But the more time that they are consuming on an electronic device, the impact that is having on their brain development. Because we know, I think you and I both know, that a person's brain is not fully developed until age 25.
Yes.
And so
Some say 26.
really, I hadn't heard
I
26.
have heard that.
Okay. But either way, we're talking your mid 20s. So when you are 12, when you are 14, when you are 16, you're a long way from 25, 26 years old.
Right.
And so you're
And
looking.
I am currently a long way from 25 or 26 years old.
Really?
So are you, right? I mean,
Just barely, baby. Just barely. So anyway, so I'm reading through this article and I was really intrigued because it looks back over a period of 23 years. All right. And this came out in June. All right. June of no, I take that back. Sorry, November of last year. All right. Right before Thanksgiving of last year. So basically since the turn of the century. All right. Since year 2000. And they have followed approximately or studied over 30,000 kids under the age of 12. All right. So we're talking 6th grade, 7th grade, and below.
okay.
And what they discovered was kind of very interesting. And what they're saying is that it has the amount of screen time can lead to changes in the development of the prefrontal cortex, which is that analytical part of the brain, the part that can focus on reasoning, the part of the brain that can focus on, how shall I say? I'm not a brain expert, so I don't want to get this wrong, but it is the last part of the brain to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So it is our most high functioning skills that we use every day.
Sure.
All right. Our ability to relate to each other, our communication skills, our mood or behavior. I don't want to call it modulators.
Suffice it to say, some very important parts of our thinking.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And our understanding of things.
And so, so anyway.
Decision making, all that kind of stuff.
Sure, absolutely. And it even goes so far as its impact on our working memory. All right. Some of the stuff they came out with was positive, but a decent amount of it was less than positive.
I have to say, I'm a little surprised that we even need a study on this. You and I, as kids, and I'm sure many of the people who listen, we were told, don't watch so much TV.
Yes.
Don't sit too close to the TV. Don't watch so much TV. What you think about is kind of who you become. I mean, there's all sorts of things, right? And I mean, even up to this day, right? Like up to very recently, I actually thought that a roadrunner was actually faster than a coyote, but I've learned that it's not that way. I actually learned that from social media. But it's that's how much TV I watched. You begin to think Looney Tunes was actually true, but
it did make me enjoy classical music.
Absolutely, right? There's nothing like that. So, whatever you do, whether you read books, whether you look at technology, I mean, whatever you're doing, whatever you're spending your time looking at and thinking about is going to develop who you are. And it's going to do it more so with younger people, but it's still going to do it for older people too. I mean, look at people who go to college and then change their thinking about things.
Sure.
So it's a matter of what are you spending your time consuming, right?
Right.
And of course, in school, we want them spending their time consuming the content and things that we're trying to teach them.
Sure.
No,
I totally agree, and that is why. I will admit that it can be a convenient babysitter.
Sure.
And I've gone to. Well, Sherry and I will go out to dinner, and I will be looking around at other patrons at the restaurant. And I cannot tell you the number of times I see mom, dad, and kids on an electronic device. It's a
lot of money to pay to go look at your phone.
Well, yeah, get carry out and do it at home. Why are you at a restaurant?
Right. Have DoorDash bring it to you.
No kidding. but it's kind of like, to me, if you're going to go out, if you're going to engage, if you're going to be together, then engage together.
Sure.
And I will say that, well, I don't think she listens, but my sister-in-law, she has used electronic devices as a convenient babysitting tool for her kids.
Mhm.
And I get it.
But here's the thing: lots of people do that.
Well, exactly.
And that part of that's, when you and I were younger, you kids made noise in the grocery store, parents got upset, walked them out. Right now, you just hand them an electronic device and shut them up. Right? It's like a pacifier.
True.
So
Yeah.
it's just easier, right? We do tend towards the easy, and so that's not a big shock.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Most of us follow the path of water,
Mhm.
which follows the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm always reminded of, and it's hard. It is absolutely hard to not give your kid an electronic device.
Right.
So I get it. But here's some of the consequences, some of the negative impacts that giving your kid that pacifier of an electronic device.
Right.
All right. They can include, and again, this is, well, I can't find in the article real quick, but it was talking about how much time. All right. I don't know how much time we're looking at here, but it was talking about it has a negative impact on their attention. So their attention they can't stay focused on something as long.
Right.
It has a negative impact on their executive control abilities, which means your basic functions of being able to make decisions. All right, make good decisions. You get angry instead of being able to handle a situation of, how shall we say this, an interaction with man, I am just dancing all over the place and missing the mark entirely here. Executive functions are your ability not just to breathe and to walk, but your ability to communicate, especially communicate effectively what you're feeling, and do so in a healthy way that doesn't make people angry or pissed off.
Right. And I think that you're stumbling to get that out is a perfect example. Executive function.
Okay. Dang, man, I haven't been playing games as much. The other issues include your ability to control your inhibitions.
Yes.
So you're going to more likely lash out. Your cognitive processes, so your thinking skills. In some areas it will strengthen, but in other areas it will weaken, especially your ability to process and problem solve. They also includes your functional connectivity. So some neural pathways will develop stronger, but a lot of them will weaken as a consequence because you're only using certain parts of your brain.
Right.
Whereas when you and I were growing up, I don't know about you, but I know me. And my mother would always say, just go outside and play.
Yeah.
And so we did. And we played with the neighbor kids and we used our imagination. My picnic table was everything from a spaceship to a boat, and, things in between. We would build forts. My bicycle was an X-Wing. My bicycle was a TIE fighter. My bicycle was a Battlestar Galactica Viper. We did all kinds of stuff,
Yeah, sun up, sun down until the streetlights came on, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think that we're in a different world nowadays. And maybe that's just something that we keep saying. I don't know, but I feel like it is a different world today, right? It seems more dangerous. I don't live in rural America anymore, so I don't really know. In rural America, maybe it's still this way, right? Maybe they're still living that way, but I just think that in most of certainly urban America, it's difficult to just let your kid go out and be gone all day long and not have any communication with them. And I think maybe part of that is just because the technology exists
that we can.
Right. So we can do it. Think about like when regular phones came out.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then suddenly people wanted to make contact. You think about like ships used to cross the Atlantic without any phones or any wireless communication or any kind of even knowledge of where they were sometimes.
Sure.
Right. But we live in a different world now, right? We've gained the technology and we have an expectation to use it.
Well, and that begs then the question, just because we can, does that mean we should? And so, but to kind of sum this up a little bit, some of the basically what they came up with is that higher screen time is associated with lower functional connectivity in the brain related to, or areas in the brain related to your language and your cognitive control.
Sure.
Even hinting strongly that it could lead to adverse cognitive development. And again, we're talking kids, 12 years old and younger. So we're not even talking the kids you and I teach at high school. We're talking the littler kids. And, I get it that they don't want to read. Okay. Most kids really do not like to read.
Sure.
But I think that when you can read, it enhances your language. Well, you start listening to or watching, the YouTube videos, the TikTok videos, the Instagram videos. Well, what kind of language are they using? Is it upper level, or is it lower level language? I mean, I was reading an article today, and it was talking about how I forget where, what city, but the judge was one of the requirements for juvenile delinquents was to put them in theater class where they would learn Shakespeare and they would have to act out Shakespeare. And they said by doing so, well, that actually improved and, solved some of their juvenile delinquency issues. But I thought, how much do we actually read Shakespeare? I mean, we had to read that when I was in school.
I mean, I don't read it at all.
Well, okay, I don't now,
right.
But we had to, growing up, and it was hard.
So I hear of students reading things like Romeo and Juliet, and I think maybe more of that happens if you get into a theater group.
Okay.
But and it's not to say that Shakespeare is not invalid. I certainly don't think that. I do think that there's lots of writing sense that is probably maybe just as valid to read. Different generations will enjoy different kinds of things, but reading is the important thing. I think yes. I agree with you there on that, right? And I think that I know that school districts across the country have shifted towards, and it's from the left and the right, in all the states, no matter which color they are. The states themselves have switched to this thing called Science of Reading, which really drives a much better reading program than has been used in 25 or 30 years. So, mainly at the lower levels, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I know that in Texas and in Florida, right, teachers have to be trained in this science of reading.
Okay.
And it's up through the elementary school ages.
Okay.
So it's a focus that's out there, and it's left and right. So this isn't a political thing, right?
Okay.
Everybody has recognized that students aren't reading well. They're not enjoying any reading, and they're just not doing it. And my wife and I were in a bookstore in a mall just yesterday, realizing that a lot more people were in the bookstores, and the bookstore seems to be doing well.
Fantastic! I love books.
And it's just we weren't in that one, but it's that one as well, right? I mean, I've seen that, but it seems to be that people are kind of reverting back to, some people at least, buying books, right? I mean, I spend way too much money on books, but I should be getting them from the city library. I did do that recently, finally, but it's something that kids need to be doing from an early age. I mean, my daughter teaches her son to read, and he's been reading more. And, my hope is that he develops a love for reading.
Well, and that's the thing, is that when you are able to read or when you enjoy reading, not being able to, but when you read for fun, it expands your vocabulary, it improves your imagination, and it better develops and enhances your frontal lobe capacity.
Yes.
And that's kind of what they're saying here, is that whether you're using a tablet or playing video games, the more you access and use electronic devices, especially those that use the internet, were found to have a negative impact on IQ scores and the growth, or what they call brain volume. And I just, like I say, I really, maybe I'm biased. Okay. Okay. I'll admit, yeah, I am biased. I love phones. I love technology. I am right there. I have a PlayStation 4, though I haven't played it for a year and a half. But it mostly because it's got so expensive and the PS4 is being outdated. But I don't need it. But is that just me? Because, I mean, how many of our kids play, students come in and they play, video games. I mean, I love it, but maybe in moderation. Are we doing too much?
And I know I have colleagues that talk a lot about video games that they play, and I don't know how everybody has time to play these video games.
Well,
I don't even have kids at home anymore, right? And I just don't know. It doesn't, and just for me, I guess it's not a priority. Now I do play 2 games a day.
Okay.
One of them is Wordle.
Okay.
Which, by the way, today I beat right on the second try.
Oh, good for you.
So it helps when you get 4 of the letters in the first try. So, and the other one is a solitaire game that I play every day.
Okay.
Just once.
Okay.
I just play the daily game. It's all that's there, and I win it every day. And but that's it. That's it. It's really the only games I play, unless my grandson comes over. He's 5, so sometimes we play like the old games.
Yeah.
That I have, because I only have a Wii, right? That's
okay, sure.
It's like ancient technology now.
Right.
But I play some of those old games with him. But even the Wii is like more of an interactive kind of thing. There's games where you're adding things, you're doing numbers, or you're doing sports. But these things where like I'm building an empire on my phone. I'm not saying people shouldn't play it, right? Do what you enjoy, I guess. But I just don't see, like, I don't have time for that.
Well, I
feel like I'm going to lose it anyway. Like something's going to happen to my account and then it's going to be gone. And I'm going to be super frustrated.
Well, I will say that when I played the video games, I enjoyed playing them, but it was from a social perspective because I was playing with my nephews.
Yes.
Or one of my coworkers or one of our colleagues. He's no longer here at our school. He's moved on, but that was a way that we could stay connected. But as my nephews not only got older, but their families grew in size, well, their time became less and less available, to the point now we haven't, I think it's been, a year and a half since we last got together and played on a Saturday morning.
Sure.
And again, but that was moderation. But how many of our students, how many young people, how many kids? I got one of my nephews. He'll be a junior in high school, but he's like a freaking vampire. Now that it's been summer vacation, he will sleep all day and play video games all night.
Goodness, I've been reading like crazy. But
so have I.
That's what I've been doing with most of my time. But everybody finds something to do with their time. But yeah, I was looking at The Atlantic. I like to read The Atlantic.
Okay, yeah.
I know it's some people will be like, well, it's a little bit left. Yeah. So for the politics side, it probably is.
Okay.
For lots of the scientific kind of articles and just culture things, it's not necessarily one way or the other.
Okay.
But I also like to read The Economist, which is a little bit to the right. So,
okay.
But I did a search on The Atlantic for just phones in schools.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Right. Came up with 10 articles since 2009, and one of them is from 2012.
Okay.
That 20% of third graders had smartphones.
Oh my gosh.
And that's 2012. I mean, we're talking 12 years ago.
Wow.
Right?
Okay,
that 20% of third graders had cell phones. And that means that probably 80 to 90% of them now have cell phones. Right? Smartphones.
Wow.
And so, but the question, like, why?
Yeah.
Why do we need, I get it, like if you're in high school, because you're going off to a job at the end of the day. You may not be back till 10 at night. You've got sports. You got to contact your parents. I mean, it's just more efficient.
Sure.
To be able to make some contacts when you're in high school, or maybe even late middle school, right, where you're doing sports or
Sure.
after school activities. But what in the heck does an elementary school kid need a smartphone for? I mean, you bring them to school, they're under the care of the school for the day, and then you go pick them back up. I mean, why?
I don't know.
What do they need it for? So, and that's a parent choice, right? Like, fortunately, we live in the United States of America where we have a constitution, we got some got some freedom. We're not looking for the nanny state. But at some point, we need to be trying to get the education to be more forefront, and the distractions to be less. When I was in school, in middle school, right, in the early '80s, it was you couldn't even have headphones.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there was the Walkman and all that stuff. Like you weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
And now you could do it at lunch, but you couldn't do it any other time. And so,
I don't even remember we being able to do it until high school.
So, or maybe we use it at recess or something. But it was. I remember specifically that in the classroom, that wasn't to be seen. You were to have that in your locker if you had it at all.
Okay.
And that was just a cassette tape.
Yeah. The bar, and I don't know.
This is content on a social media site, which could be anything from the most benign to the pornographic.
Well, and that
in a school setting.
Yes. And that's where I argue, you mentioned earlier that about it's kids going out and playing all day. Well, with access to these electronic devices, the horribleness of the world is coming inside your house.
Sure.
And because they're playing these video games, but how many of the people that they play do they actually know? Physically have met in real life.
Right.
And when I'm talking to my nephews, I mean, I got one that he's a 5th grader. And I've asked, have you physically met them? Well, no. And it's kind of like, and I have to bite my tongue because I don't want to tell his mother how to raise your kid, but I have suggested that, you're very cautious about their physical safety when they're not next to you, when they're out and about. But are you monitoring, and do you know every single person that they are playing games with, connecting with?
Sure.
And I mean, you're right. They can download and access, all the porno stuff through the internet. I mean, gone are the days of the Playboy magazine. All right. Now it comes to you with a simple Google search.
Yeah. And that's why some states like Texas have implemented, restrictions where you have to verify your age before even being able to look at those sites.
Yeah, but a lot of them say, are you 18?
But,
yes or no?
Well, I think Texas comes with you have to give a credit card number.
Oh, really?
In order to verify age. So,
my gosh. Okay, I did not know that.
I know that Utah did something like that. Florida was working on it. There's a lot of states that have looked at that. I think maybe some of this comes back to the industry itself regulating something or assisting the state in doing something, right? Like, for a long time, cigarette companies were kind of forced to pay for people to help people get off nicotine, right? So pay for programs like that. So maybe it's something that the government could look at doing something with social media, forcing them to teach some better usage or something.
Well, and that,
but I think ultimately it still comes down to parents, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. My kid could be out drinking, doing drugs, doing whatever. Same as they could be looking at the phones and not doing the other things they're supposed to be doing. It comes down to how involved am I?
Well,
how much do I know?
Thank you.
About what's happening.
You're absolutely correct. They could be doing worse things, but
and if you are involved and it's still happening, right? Then maybe you need some extra for that person.
I totally agree that, you can ask the government to help out a little. I think that's the whole point of the Surgeon General warning.
Yeah.
But I go back to it's a mom and dad thing. It's a guardian thing. You're the kid, you're the child. And as the adult in that child's life, I think it needs to be part of your responsibility. We did an episode here not too long ago, or I don't know how long ago, but we did one previously a while back, and it was about screen time. And okay, you can get the chores that you do can buy you screen time.
Sure.
Well, I think that would be a fantastic way, because I don't think I'm saying no screen time. I'm just saying, should it be, 8 to 10 hours a day?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I mean, we probably need to wrap it up. But,
yeah.
I think that none of us really want the government to decide for us how to handle these things. So, I guess the question is, what can we do, right? How can we handle it ourselves as parents, as adults in the community? And I think one of those ways is to get involved at your school board, right? Try to see what you can do, right? I mean, go to the local level and let's try to handle it there. Get yourself educated. There's lots of articles out there about cell phone use and children, like the one you were looking at.
Yeah.
And, if everybody would read some of those things, maybe we could get to just a little bit of advancement, right, towards controlling this problem.
That is correct. So, well, my cell phone's calling, so I guess I better go play.
All righty.
All right. Well, this has been entertaining and enlightening, so thank you very much for indulging me. And I guess, we're well over 30 minutes by now, so we'll call it a quick goodbye. So until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.